It has come to my attention that now using the word fanboy or maybe fangirl, depending on who I'm having a conversation with or a discussion with, is cause for calling someone that they do not agree with the criticism of whatever post it is that they want to give feedback on. So let me explain. Because even though I'm trying to phrase it in a way where it's understandable, I need to explain the whole story and I need to ask you guys a question about this. But before we do, welcome to a brand new episode of the Square Circle podcast. This is a bonus episode because while I was going to make Konosuke a main talking point for episode, or I should say night 2 of the G1 Climax 34, and also a talking point for night 3 and maybe night 4. I think we're up to night 4. But I am currently on Threads. The link will be down in the description below if you guys want to follow me on Threads and read about my wrestling takes that people just get emotional about. Super emotional. So this is a bonus episode of everything else. And I'm not sure whether to put this behind a paywall or not a paywall. I'll decide. If you get to listen to it, that's amazing. If not, you can read about it in the Friday edition of Wrestle Threads over at marieshadows.substack.com. As always, make sure to tell a friend, share it out. It will be available on Spotify and all major podcasting platforms. And it will be on youtube.com/Square Circle Podcast. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button, that follow button, the bell notification, and like this episode if you are on the YouTube side of things. So here is my question to all of my regular listeners, my day one listeners since 2019, and even some new listeners that have stumbled upon this podcast called Square Circle Podcast by yours truly, Marie Shadows, that basically talks about professional wrestling, gets to review professional wrestling, and definitely gets to talk about wrestling terms, interview wrestlers, talk about the business and the industry, and break down professional wrestling matches for wrestling reactions. The Square Circle Podcast by yours truly, Marie Shadows, does a lot. So it is no surprise that whenever I post up an opinion or a perspective or something that is a very think big kind of post on social media, people get upset about it. And that's the nature of how things go. And, all I say is that you don't have to agree with me. If you don't like what I have to say or my perspective or the think big picture when it comes to professional wrestling, then you don't have to even engage or comment on the post. And that may be counterproductive for me because I want discussions and I want honest discussions. But if the person is only going to get emotional and then try to tell me that wrestling is not deep and that I'm being a clown and I'm exposing myself because I call people fanboys and I don't engage in explaining myself, I already did explain myself. I explain myself on other platforms. I have community posts on YouTube that you can check out if you see me for the first time posting on Threads and you're like, who is this lady? Go check out my other things. I always have some type of explanation ready for my opinion and my perspective. But the moment that somebody does not want to have a conversation, I can tell by the way that they reply and I could tell by the way that they act. So it doesn't mean that I should over-explain myself when someone is not going to listen. If someone is not going to listen, they're not going to listen. So there is no point in me over-explaining. And even if I do over-explain or explained, it doesn't get a response. Nothing happens. That person goes away because they have nothing to push back against me. Against my thoughts, really. So here is the question, and I know this is audio and I'm not live streaming, so I can't say, hey, people in chat, give me a raised hand emoji, but I am going to need you guys to raise your hand to this question. Or Make sure to leave a comment now on Spotify or answer the Spotify poll, which would be the same question, or give me a reply on YouTube or send me a reply on email or on Substack. Email is squaredcirclepodcast@outlook.com. So here's the question. I just thought of multiple questions, so just indulge me for a little bit. The first question is, do you have a favorite wrestler? I am currently raising my hand because I have more than one current favorite wrestler. And if you have more than one favorite wrestler, you should be raising your hand too. Question number 2. Do you defend your favorite or favorites wrestler all the time on social media? I raise my hand as well because I defend my favorite wrestlers on social media with facts and perspectives. And so, if you believe those statements to be true, by raising your hand, the next and final question is, do you consider yourself a fanboy and or fangirl? I am raising my hand because I am a fangirl. I'm a girl that happens to be a fan of professional wrestling, so that makes me a fangirl. And I will say that my wrestlers are my favorite, and I will defend them, so I am a fangirl. By that pure definition, you're a fan of the wrestlers, and you happen to be that specific gender. But on the flip side of everything, I'm not just a fangirl. I know my wrestling history. I can tell patterns when it comes to people who reply back to those that don't want to play along and to those that do not want to stoop to other people's levels, even though that happens in the world of social media because it just does, and we lose sight of things. But if I were to call you a fanboy or a fangirl, that does not mean it's an insult. That just tells me that I can tell by the response that you do not want to have a discussion or a conversation about the post that you're getting upset about. There are a lot of fanboys and fangirls across social media that will automatically get triggered by something and get emotional by something when you point out facts, when you point out questions that will have them make them think. Because they don't want to think. They want to make sure that their wrestler that they support is number one through and through. But it needs to make sense in the overall grand scheme of professional wrestling. It needs to make sense in the overall grand scheme of the G1. The G1 is supposed to set up new heroes, new stories, new feuds, new angles. But we all know that it's not going to do that. For some reason, this G1 is just all over the place, and it is completely to one side only. And there's no middle ground where it makes sense, where I can accept certain wrestlers losing to other wrestlers because it's not that big of a deal. And so, on Threads, talking about Konosuke made me viral. And all the replies under that, they did not want to have a conversation. When I pushed back, there was no reply. When I was like, hey, listen to my review of the opening night to get an idea of where I'm coming from, a perspective of the G1 and why I am making this post about why is Konosuke defeating New Japan guys when Tsuji is supposed to be primed and ready to maybe be an ace. And you have Jeff Cobb, who is the NJPW World TV Champion, who is supposed to get subscriptions for NJPW to grow and for your wrestlers to get paid. But fans who get overly emotional just because someone states an opinion or a perspective or have you think about the big picture in professional wrestling, they all have one thing in common, and that is a mindless self-indulgence because they can't seem to have an actual conversation to try to either understand the perspective, the questions that are posed, because they want everything to be all squeaky clean. They want people to agree with them. They want people to be happy that they are happy that their guy is winning, that their guy is destroying the NJPW roster, because apparently to them, They don't believe in New Japan Pro Wrestling and consider this little destruction of the established NJPW roster as something good and it could hook people. That doesn't hook nobody. Those type of programs where one wrestler just destroys the entire roster has done zero for all of professional wrestling, and people just don't like that, because why should your guy win and my guy lose? Why can't there be a balance of maybe a back and forth of like he wins one, the other one wins one? You know, that's why they created gimmick matches of like the best 2 out of 3, the best 7 series of 2 wrestlers that hate each other. You have a wrestler from AEW, not even DDT anymore, because again, he is more known for AEW than he is for DDT. So he is an AEW wrestler. An AEW wrestler comes in to the G1 and ends up getting a win over Tsuji, who's been there, went through the dojo system, just had a documentary done on him, and loses to Konosuke. And then you have Jeff Cobb, who is the NJPW World TV Champion, and loses to Konosuke, as if Jeff Cobb is not a big-ass tank that can destroy the roster on his own. And you're telling me that that hooks people in, because why? Because you have another Japanese guy come in to do that to NJPW that makes no sense. It doesn't, because Konosuke is not established in New Japan Pro Wrestling. Konosuke does not have a NJPW contract. He has an AEW contract, and AEW lent him out. Or I should say TK lent him out, because TK doesn't want to give nobody else. TK should have gave us MJF, because MJF was talking the most shit about New Japan Pro Wrestling and Japanese wrestlers and Japan itself. And maybe he should start backing his words up. But no, you want to just send over Konosuke and be like, all right, go ahead, because, you know, you're losing over here. Which, by the way, I do know that Konosuke loses in America. I do know that Konosuke is upset and frustrated with his booking, with the American people not really accepting him as a wrestler, because he can't do what he does in Japan over here in the States, because it's not going to go over, and he saw that firsthand. He experienced that firsthand. But we have to remember that Tony Khan, that's not his favorite. His favorites are the one that he signs. His favorite are the WWE guys that we see coming into AEW that does not help the product. Konosuke comes to us by way of Kenny Omega, because Kenny Omega recommended Konosuke. So there's this huge uneven shift that I see in whatever character Konosuke is. I do not believe that Konosuke is the alpha, because what are you alpha about? You're not alpha about anything. So I just don't see it. And for him to come into New Japan Pro Wrestling and be pushed like a Superman, like a Goku, where they are undefeated and they have the reversal and the endurance maxed out as if they are a WWE created superstar. Now, my question on thread on this post was, why? Why is he pushed like this? Why is he going through the roster? And then the replies came in of just praising Konosuke and his wrestling. And it's like, you guys have never seen nobody else do what Konosuke does. My problem is that Konosuke wrestles as if he doesn't take any damage. He doesn't know how to sell. He doesn't know how to tell a story. He's just there to absorb and go on to the next choreographed move and do suplexes and try to wow the crowd. But that's it. There's nothing else to him. What else is there? When I asked people to tell me about his character, I was legit told, and I will read it verbatim, at the moment, his character is someone invading the outside, in parentheses, DDT/AEW, end parentheses. Like I said, he's more AEW than DDT. So I'm going to continue to say, and being disappointed in what NJPW had to offer, despite not wanting to work with him all this time. Now, here's the thing. We do not know whether or not New Japan Pro Wrestling did or did not want to work with Konosuke. So the story and the lore that I understand, But before we get into the lore of what I understand, I just want to say that if you are a wrestler and you need to invade, with air quotes right now, if you need to invade another company or another team or just something, that is not a character. That isn't a character, because then we can definitely say that Shawn Michaels and Triple H, their characters were invading WCW headquarters that time that they did the invasion. How does that sound? That we're going to reduce Triple H and Shawn Michaels to having characters of invading. That doesn't make any sense. That's not a character. That's just something that Konosuke is doing for story, even though there's practically no story. Just because he's invading NJPW that didn't want to work with him doesn't really mean anything. He's there now, right? They're going to work with him now. But here's the lore. And this is where it gets a little muddy. So apparently at 9 years old, Konosuke typed up or written up a resume and sent it off to NJPW management. Which, by the way, being 9 years old, you really wouldn't know what a resume is if you're the only child. As far as I know, I don't think he has any siblings. Now, keep in mind, I do not like to get into the personal backgrounds of wrestlers, but for this particular podcast, we have to talk about the lore, to talk about what happened on Threads. So this is why I'm talking about it. So at 9 years old, he sends off a resume. And then he decided to go into wrestling and started training and went through DDT and AEW and finally made his way to NJPW. And obviously wanted to face Tanahashi, and he did at 19, but he was extremely green. That's also part of his lore. And so he just trained very hard, and then now here he is. And then also Tanahashi had said some stuff about Pro Wrestling Noah and DDT when they were all feuding and everything, but then took those words back, which is part of Konosuke's lore. So do with that information whatever you want to do with it. And that's my understanding of the lore. But there's not really much to go on for that. There's nothing else there. Why else would you want to wrestle in New Japan Pro Wrestling? And what makes him inspired or hungry or angry to be there? How come no fan has ever told me what that is? Do fans watch the backstage comments of the wrestlers after the fact? Because New Japan Pro Wrestling does not do in-ring segments of talking segments. All the talking is done backstage. So for some reason, whenever I ask wrestling fans, aka fanboys, who want to defend through and through their boy Konosuke, why can they not tell me what his character is? But if I pose the question of, hey, tell me about Macho Man's character. Hey, tell me about Ted DiBiase's character. Hey, tell me about John Cena's character. Hey, tell me about Edge's character, The Miz, Cody Rhodes. Like, if I give you specific wrestlers to tell me their character, their motivations, you will be able to tell me that. But whenever I'm like, hey, what is Konosuke's character? Oh, he's just invading right now. What? Wait, but doesn't he call himself the Alpha? Yeah, I guess. But you know, he's like in the top 10 of my wrestling Mount Rushmore people. He's the best wrestler of all time. Hello, I'm asking you for his character. Yeah, but he's the Alpha. He could suplex people. Okay, fine. He could suplex people, but it doesn't make sense. It doesn't add up. So me questioning, why is he destroying the NJPW roster for night 1 and night 2, even though there was only 2 people he defeated? Because for some reason he was also booked to fight Masato Tanaka, and it's only the AEW guys that get special treatment. Whenever they have to do a tournament, whenever they have to work with New Japan Pro Wrestling, they are the only guys that get special treatment. No other person has gotten special treatment as far as I know. But why is Konosuke going through the roster when New Japan Pro Wrestling is in a period of rebuilding and having to figure out where they're going to put their wrestlers in this game of chess to fill the holes that were left because Okada went overseas, Ospreay went overseas, and they don't have that star power as much. So why would you book somebody to be so strong who never had a footprint in New Japan Pro Wrestling ever? Why would you book them so strong that it damages any momentum, any trajectory for Yota Tsuji and Jeff Cobb down the line, because it doesn't make sense. Unless they do set up where Tsuji goes over to AEW, but I bet you it's not going to happen because Tony Khan only wants wrestlers from the 90s. And I pointed this out. There is a pattern that Tony Khan loves wrestlers from the 90s. Even though Yota Tsuji and I are the same age and we were born in the 90s, it does not count. So I don't think Tsuji is going to get a chance to be at AEW. Oh, and by the way, Forbidden Door is barred, like the play on words, barred from this conversation because in Forbidden Door, you have many companies working together. You have NJPW, CMLL, and AEW, and Ring of Honor, even though it's still an AEW product, all working together to produce Forbidden Door. So they all have to play nice. Tony Khan has to learn how to play nice in the sandbox when he does Forbidden Door. But when it's stuff like this, a tournament that is widely renowned in Japan and over here in the US, even though it is like a medium to decent footprint size, it is a renowned tournament. Tony Khan does not know how to play nice, and no one else really liked that I ended it with TK needs to learn how to lose. TK does need to learn how to lose. TK has this influence of like his AEW guys cannot lose to New Japan guys. And while I say that, there was the match of Konosuke versus Yuya. Now, I like Yuya. Yuya is awesome, but Yuya is missing something to make him a complete wrestler. He has everything. He has the look. He has a babyface look, by the way. He has the wrestling ability. He knows what he's doing. And by the way, he was a little funny being with Joe Hendry in TNA for his excursion. However, he's still missing something, and I'm not sure what it is. However, why is it that Yuya is the one to defeat Konosuke? Why? Now, Yuya deserved that win. I'm not taking the win away from him, but if we're doing the think bigger picture analysis right now, it does not make sense, especially when Yuya, when he also got a victory over David Finlay, and David Finlay is supposed to be the veteran if we're still going by kayfabe standards. But I don't really want to take anything away from Yuya. It's just the way that it was planned and the losses for what? Yota Tsuji should be the next ace, as well as Yuya, as well as Ren Narita, as well as any of the younger guys that are there. They need to have them on rotation and not make it feel like Yuya is the prime one to be the only ace. That's what I had a problem with. And there was this weird misunderstanding from the one person that didn't understand why I was questioning the victory of Yuya beating Konosuke as if Tsuji and Jeff Cobb couldn't do it. Jeff Cobb is a veteran through and through, been in this business for years, went all over the world, seen it all, and even went to the Olympics. Jeff Cobb is what I like to call the Midgard of New Japan Pro Wrestling because he is still there. He has not decided to leave, but he may end up leaving. That's just my own intuition speaking at this point. Nothing has been confirmed. No, nothing like that. Just my intuition. However, he's been there, so I would call him a Midgard to make sure that the younger generation are stable, but you have him lose to Konosuke, who I said in the previous episode that he don't go to New Japan Pro Wrestling. So why would a veteran and a Midgard like Jeff Cobb lose to somebody, especially when you're a champion and you're trying to bring in subscribers so that way everybody could get paid? So I was just trying to find where in discussing this online on social media, what was the difference between Yuya winning versus Tsuji and Jeff Cobb couldn't do it when they have both been tested and they proved themselves? Why is Konosuke built like an unbeatable force, even though he lost to Yuya. Even though this loss really doesn't mean anything because no one seems to really care about it and care about the booking decisions. But there has been nothing to make me believe that there's going to be more story after this. So let's go through some of these comments because this isn't necessarily to put people on blast. Well, maybe it is, but in our society, we allow people to talk to us like we're shit and we don't know anything about professional wrestling, and everybody just assumes things because they get emotional because someone is questioning their guy. And I get it. I totally get it. But sometimes you have to look at the bigger picture of why somebody will post what I posted, which we'll start with that. Okay, we'll start with that. So if you are on Threads, make sure to go follow me if you want to, and click the link down in the description below if you want to see everything and chat with me there as well. So I go and post, why is Konosuke beating the NJPW guys? Are New Japan's not talking about this? How it doesn't make sense, especially when Jeff Cobb is the NJPW World TV champ that's supposed to bring in more subscribers to the NJPW World Network. Tell TK it's okay to lose. I don't know if anyone knows, but Bushiroad released their PDF document of their quarter earnings, and NJPW made no money. NJPW is in the red. NJPW is struggling, and if we agree that New Japan Pro Wrestling is struggling, and if you've been here and been listening to me, thank you. If you are a new listener, go back and listen to my other stuff. But if we all know this collectively, why are we not talking about it to sort of help shape New Japan Pro Wrestling to gain money? Japanese culture and American culture are completely different, but money is a universal language. So why are we not, as fans, trying to help out New Japan Pro Wrestling to make more money, to pay the guys? But wrestling fans just want their one guy that they love to basically destroy the whole roster and be like, oh yeah, but New Japan is struggling, but I still want my guy to win. That's selfish, and you never cared about the company that gives you the wrestlers that you end up liking, that goes to the person who can sign checks that they cannot cash. Because your Lord and Savior, Tony Khan, is having a difficult time with that Warner Brothers Discovery deal. So I'm just saying, money does not always grow on trees. It's never going to grow on trees, and inheritance money runs out. So here are some replies to that post that I just read. This is from somebody. It's about showing cooperation. He is a DDT guy, and that would never happen in the past. This is amazing for wrestling. Wow, it is amazing for wrestling. What cooperation? Because they allow Konosuke to wrestle in New Japan Pro Wrestling. If I had my passport and I was a 100% wrestler, I could go over to New Japan Pro Wrestling if I had a big enough resume to go. So it doesn't really matter if there's cooperation or not. That doesn't mean anything. Yeah, we are living in a time where wrestling promotions are now collaborating with each other, which is a good thing for the overall of wrestling, but cooperation where? And just because we don't talk about any of the conversations that could have happened, maybe they could not find a compromise in order to do this earlier. So you can't just say, oh, this would never happen. Because back then in the territory days, those guys used to trade wrestlers all the time. The champion would go to a rival promotion and wrestle there with the championship title. It was done before. So that is untrue. There were two different people with the same statements that said, not to mention NJPW have to push the younger guys now. Yeah, but Konosuke is not a younger guy. He does not have a contract with New Japan Pro Wrestling, so he's not considered to be in that push for the younger guys. And how do you push the younger guys if Konosuke is destroying them? You destroy any kind of motivation, you destroy any kind of momentum, any kind of trajectory. The fans may lose interest because their guy lost. The Japanese fans, dear American wrestling fans, think about the Japanese fans who pay for the tickets to go to the event to make sure that that money gets distributed to everyone involved. It's not just you watching the product, whether it is illegal or through the website. If you pay the 999 yen for the NJPW World subscription, it is the Japanese fans that are the backbone of New Japan Pro Wrestling in Japan when it comes to these tournaments. So to say that it's about pushing the young guys, yeah, it's about pushing the New Japan star young guys, not Konosuke, who's in AEW. Tell Tony Khan to push him in AEW because he would be considered a young guy. The point is that don't forget about the main people who try to keep NJPW afloat over in Japan because that is their mainstay. I then get a reply from someone that says, Konosuke winning is always the correct decision if we're being honest. First of all, I don't know who the we are, but you're not being honest, to which I say, if you're a fanboy, yeah. If you're a realist, no. Because what do fanboys and fangirls do? They basically praise the one wrestler that they love through and through, and it does not matter what you say. It does not matter what kind of facts you bring up. It does not matter what kind of opinions or perspectives you bring up to that person. They're always going to say, oh, well, he's the right decision. That's the right person. That person is awesome. That person is epic. And it's like, I can lay out all these facts and nothing. To which some person who definitely is an asshole will reply to me, a realist, LOL, it's wrestling, it's not that deep. And I'm just correct in saying that, well, don't seek out comments if you believe that. If you believe that it's not that deep, so then why do you have to tell somebody that's trying to make NJPW better, that's trying to make wrestling better, that's love wrestling, that's their passion, they break it down, it's their analysis. Why do you seek out comments to tell people that it's not that deep? To which somebody, the emotional person, says, don't call anyone who disagrees with you a fanboy. You are exposing yourself as a clown. Have a discussion. What discussion is there if that person has completely turned off his hearing or her hearing, that they automatically say it's not that deep and laugh at me when I'm like, oh, when I say the word realist? What conversation is there to have if you know that a person like that is not going to respond back to you? Why would I need to waste my time on that when I know that person is not coming back? So that was the perfect answer for me of saying, don't seek it out. But apparently calling somebody a fanboy exposes me as a clown. How is that relevant? How does that make any sense? I am calling what I see as the obvious. If you're going to defend blindly Konosuke because he is the best wrestler to you, but I can't figure out why he's the best wrestler to you, and if you can't tell me to convince me to change my mind, then yeah, you're a fanboy, because you need to change my mind about Konosuke. I may one day come around and like Konosuke, but right now I just don't understand. I just don't. And you might think to yourself, if you're listening to this, why am I making this such a bigger deal than it is, and that I should move on? That is totally correct. I probably should move on and still talk about it because I cover professional wrestling and I cover New Japan Pro Wrestling and I cover the G1. The only reason why I am doing this is to bring awareness and attention to what wrestling fans do to other wrestling fans and try to put them down, try to hold them into a box, try to quiet them out because they don't want to think about their favorite wrestler not being as good as they believe them to be. It's about showing that There could have been a discussion. There could have been some smart exchanges, but people get emotional and that's the first thing that they do. And then they project onto you. So I'm just showing that side of social media and how you handle it. Because if you automatically know that you're not going to get the conversation that you want, then this is what it turns into. And again, it's just awareness. And by the way, nobody should be talking to each other like that on the internet. And people have become so comfortable with assuming things and calling you a clown and exposing you. Well, great job of projecting what you do on a daily basis. Let's read some more comments, and this is where we get into the emotional state of the thread. It goes like this. Unless you have him beaten today by an up-and-comer, oh wait, you work for WWE. Would it be fair for me to accuse you of being a shill because of that? No, it wouldn't. Cut your weird insulting when folks are having a discussion with you. First of all, you found my thread and you wanted to be emotional with me and you wanted to start shit where there was nothing to be start. And by the way, this isn't the first time that me working at WWE has been thrown in my face. On Twitter, I have been dragged through the fucking mud. WWE has been thrown back into my face. And you know what I do every single time that happens? I smile while I type out, I accomplished a childhood dream of mine by working for WWE. I am proud of that. No one in this world is going to ever take that accomplishment away from me. That was my childhood dream. I went to go achieve it. Most people cannot even say that they accomplished a childhood dream of theirs because of all the excuses that they have going on. I will not let no one on the internet belittle me or make me feel bad for working with WWE, despite everything that WWE has going on, both negatively and positively. That is a childhood dream that I accomplished, and I will die on that hill because I accomplished what I wanted to do since I was 7 years old. You cannot take that away from me. You cannot throw it back in my face. I will just smile and I will say that I accomplished something that I wanted to do, and I am proud of that. So for anyone that is listening to this, if you have a dream, go do that dream. And if anybody tries to use it as a weapon against you, stand there proud with your chest out and say that I accomplished something that you may never ever accomplish. Even if that other person does not have that same dream, don't let no one try to take out your light because you did something that you love. We should be normalizing that we should be proud of our accomplishments, especially the dreams that we make when we are little kids and we follow through. If you cannot follow through on your dream, don't you dare try to take that away from somebody else that has made it through and I would love to work with WWE again. I have no shame in that. Because professional wrestling brings us all together. Professional wrestling teaches us lessons, how to get over obstacles, how to get over bullies, how to get over people that do this shit on social media. And you might think that I'm frustrated, I'm angry. I'm not. It just boggles my mind that something as an innocent post of me just questioning why is this happening turns into an emotional response of, oh wait, you work for WWE? Let me throw that shit back in her face because haha, I win. I feel very empowered by doing that. No, you don't. Because I'm not allowing you to take any power away from me. I'm not allowing you to get under my skin. I will gladly say every single time that I work for WWE and I love working for WWE. Of course, not every company is going to be perfect, but fuck yeah, I achieved the dream. So ladies and gentlemen who work in the social media space of professional wrestling, stand there proud and tall that you accomplished something that no one else has ever accomplished. I then go on to say, because now I am addressing the fact that he said my weird insulting. I go on to say, like I said, I have discussions. but how one reacts determines if the discussion is already locked, meaning one person doesn't budge on their locked thinking or will learn a new perspective. So if you are going to comment on any of my posts throughout social media with Konosuke is dope, Konosuke is the right answer, I automatically know you're a fanboy, because we could not have a conversation because you want him to win and fuck everybody else. I already know. I know the deal. This isn't my first rodeo on social media. To which this person says, you have replied to multiple people giving criticism of your Konosuke in the G1 take. Nobody gave me criticism. Nobody did. Someone just laughed at me saying that I call myself a realist and that Konosuke is the right answer and that it's cooperation and that it's time to push the younger boys. Just because I replied to them by calling them fanboys rather than explaining myself, again, why do I have to explain myself if no one is going to listen? It's like that age-old phrase of if a tree falls in the forest, will anyone hear it? That's exactly what's happening here. So deflection, deflection, deflection. And the person goes on to say, one day you are posting Konosuke shouldn't be running through the roster. The next day he shouldn't. That should be me posting about he shouldn't be going through New Japan Pro Wrestling. And then why is he going through New Japan Pro Wrestling? Something like that. But either way, why are you concerned with what I post and how I post? And how is that going to affect you with you enjoying Konosuke? Because obviously you enjoy watching Konosuke matches. To which the person goes on to say, stop talking to folk like you know better. Your cup of coffee there still means you took 0 bumps. First of all, assuming is making an ass out of you and me. This is what happens when people get emotional and they want to start attacking you personally without really knowing you, because they group you into wrestling fans that wrestling fans talk shit. This is why we say that wrestling fans online are undefeated in being unhinged, and wrestling fans online are chronically ill because they think that everybody is a wrestling fan and they don't understand their journey. My journey is different. After WWE let me go, I went straight into wrestling school, and I did take bumps. And when I took the bumps at wrestling school, I even have a picture of the bumps and the bruises on my arm. I have that. I went to wrestling school not long after WWE let me go. And once I was taking the bumps, I realized that professional wrestling, being a professional wrestler, which was my other dream, I couldn't cut it. I just realized that I was honest with myself that I could not be a professional wrestler. However, I do like running the ropes. That is great cardio. That's something that I enjoyed. And the day that I get a house with a backyard, I will be purchasing a wrestling ring. So that way I could just run the ropes and maybe take a couple bumps and learn. And that's the thing. When wrestling fans are chronically online, they don't think that you have other aspirations. They don't think you have other dreams. They don't think you have anything at all, and that you're stuck doing the thing over and over again by shit talking on wrestling. And it's like, no, get to know who I am. Go to all the links in my bio and get to know me through listening to my podcast episodes. Again, you do not have to agree with me. I never ask any of my listeners, oh, you have to 100% agree with me. No, you can agree to disagree. You can agree with some stuff and not agree with others. And you can still be a listener, and we could still be friends, and we could still chat about things. And if you have a different take or an opinion or a perspective that you want to share with me, I'll read it. I'll listen. But I'm not going to be like, that's stupid for X, Y, and Z reasons. But if I know that you don't want to listen in our initial conversation in a random post online, then yeah, you're a fanboy, because I could just tell for the signs. Also, me calling you a fanboy or a fangirl should not be an insult. You should be proud of that, because you are obviously going to defend your wrestler. But at the same time, I know that you're going to be blinded by defending your wrestler, but you're going to defend your wrestler nonetheless, which is very admirable, because not many wrestlers get cheerleaders in their corner. but I'm just asking you to be a little realistic with you always just blindly praising your wrestler, because how is your wrestler going to improve if you want that wrestler to stay for longevity in the wrestling business? If all you're going to say is, oh my God, Konosuke is so great, Konosuke is in my top 10, Konosuke is awesome. And if I ask you, well, why? So maybe I can be a fan with you. You don't tell me why. You're just like, oh, he is. Oh, this or that. He does suplexes. Oh, he's called the Alpha. Oh, he does this. That doesn't convince me. So if all you're going to do is just praise a wrestler for the sake of praising a wrestler, you are not helping them improve in their craft. The whole point of the Square Circle podcast and the Tape Study series is to make wrestling better than it was yesterday. That's all. Where I want to share my knowledge and help wrestlers improve, help companies improve. But then we have the mindless, self-indulgent fans who get emotional over a post that they should have never gotten emotional for, to try to tell you who you are as a person, to try to tell you your own thoughts, to try to tell you that you're wrong, and to try to tell you that you have zero credibility in this business because you don't take bumps. Well, you don't take bumps either, mister. So here we come to the favorite part in this thread on Threads, because I do not want anybody out there to ever limit themselves, especially when it comes to their knowledge, especially when they know that they are 100% knowledgeable in a field that was meant for them. Wrestling is my passion. It is my bread and butter, for a lack of a better phrase, and it is everything that I know. So because you get assholes who think that they want to be cheeky and disguise their words and say that, and you know that people defending that decision love, it has quotation marks on it, Konosuke without question, rather than just disagree with you because you are so knowledgeable. Have some self-awareness. I do have some self-awareness, but I do also say back, I am knowledgeable. You want me to lie. And then I try to end it with thanks for the chat, but you know, things don't always go according to plan because sometimes people want the last word. And I will say this again, for any lady out there and any gentleman out there that is listening to this, stand on your knowledge. Tell them that you are knowledgeable. If somebody wants you to dumb down your thoughts, your opinions, how loud you are, just make sure you're right. I'm just going to be very, very honest. Make sure that you're right. Because if you're wrong, it doesn't really look right, but make sure that you're right. But don't let nobody who don't know you and your content or your community, don't let them tell you, oh, because you're so knowledgeable, right? That's such a kiddie thing to do. And we're not children. We should be adults. I know I'm an adult. I'm 33 years old. I am an adult. I am a grown-ass woman like everyone else says on the internet. But that is neither here nor there. Be proud of who you are. Be proud of your knowledge and make sure that you stand on your 2 feet on that hill and tell people that you are knowledgeable when someone is like questioning it. And when someone tells you, oh, you're so knowledgeable, right? Like, oh my God. Well, why don't you end up being knowledgeable too? And we can have a discussion about professional wrestling on my intellect level. How about that? Now, here comes the funny part, which, like I said, most people want to hear themselves talk. So here comes the funny part, which is the ending. You too, however many negative feeling you are picking up, I am trying to help you not seem like an asshole to people who are engaging with you. You could have had new viewers for your YouTube if you had a discussion rather than calling people fanboys immediately. So that tells me that after everything that I said, you cannot have a comeback where you could change my mind about why Konosuke should be destroying the New Japan roster and then want to claim that, oh, you could have had new YouTube viewers, but oh no, you call them fanboys. When the hell did fanboys become offensive? And why is fanboys such a trigger and an emotional rationale for this commenter? Just because I call people fanboys does not mean that I use it in a way to either dismiss them, even though I know I'm not going to get a discussion. And if I'm not going to get a discussion, you're a fanboy. Go ahead. Go have a wonderful day. It is not meant to be used as a disagreement. It is meant to be used as, oh, well, I can see by your answer you're a fanboy. There is nothing wrong with that. The same way that I gushed over Jay White, and if you called me a fangirl at that time, which you could go in the back catalog to go listen to, I gush over Jay White. I have Jay White merch. I have his shirts. You can call me a fangirl, and I will not get upset by it because I am a fangirl. I love wrestling. You love wrestling. You love these wrestlers. You are a fanboy. You are a fangirl. That is your fandom. So I don't understand why someone so emotional would come at me and try to attack me on a personal level. That is what people do when they don't know who you are, when they're having trouble with themselves, obviously, or maybe, and they don't know how to sort their feelings, and they don't know how to sort things out on the internet because they're online 24/7. Now, granted, I'm online 24/7 too because I have to provide content and wrestling content for all of my listeners, especially original wrestling content, because I'm not about to lie to you guys. So, with all that being said, Konosuke, thank you for making me go viral on Threads. And I hope that if Konosuke ever listens to any of my reviews, again, nothing is personal when I do these reviews, when I bring stuff to light, when I call things out. I just want things to make sense. I just didn't understand why Konosuke was such an unbeatable force when New Japan Pro Wrestling is struggling and need to make the next aces. And Yuya is the one that gets to get a victory over Konosuke, and to me, that looks like favoritism, and that looks like Yuya is going to be the only one ace, while Tsuji has put in a lot of work. You have the NJPW World TV Champion losing. I do not remember a time where Zack Sabre Jr., the former two-time NJPW World TV Champion, lost in any of his matches that he had when he represented to be the TV champ to get more subscribers to NJPW World. So why is Jeff Cobb, who's built like a tank and is the tank of the United Empire, why is he losing to Konosuke? What is the difference? Make it make sense. That is all I do on social media, is to try to create conversation and try to have discussion about make it make sense. Tell me what I'm missing. And if you tell me what I'm missing, I could definitely correct myself, and I could be like, oh, I see it. I get it. I get your perspective. I get why they're doing that. That makes sense. That's awesome. But no, we have emotional fans that don't want their guy to lose, that don't want to think about things, that want to curse you out, and that want to basically assume things and throw accomplishments back in your face. Well, guess what? If you do not give these people the power, and you might think that by me making this podcast episode, I'm giving that person the power. No, I'm not. I'm providing a longer explanation to some of the things that were said to me, and that's not giving them power. That's bringing awareness. An example of giving people power is to deny that you ever worked at your childhood dream job. Giving someone the power to have over you is getting embarrassed that they decided to poke you on a personal level when you wear certain things as a badge of honor. That is the only power that they have. But if we talk about it and raise awareness about this kind of behavior and have it in an audio format where anybody can listen to it, it can definitely help others that deal with this and don't know how to stand tall and be proud of themselves. And just because I ask questions, it should not elicit any kind of personal attacks. And just because they look at a profile, they don't know shit about you. You don't know shit about me until you actually want to have a conversation with me. I am basically an open book. I love talking about wrestling. I love analyzing wrestling, Also, before I wrap this up, I do want to touch upon the YouTube thing because that bothered me. Because this person was not trying to get me new viewers if he was calling me a clown and I'm exposing myself because I use the word fanboys. I guess I can't use fanboys anymore because that's offensive. I need to explain the kind of community that I'm building because what I didn't like about the YouTube comment was that I am not building the same community that everybody else is building in the wrestling space. I am not building my community off of lies. I am not building my community off of drama this, drama that. How many times can we dunk on Dave Metzler? How many times can we dunk on Tony Khan? How many times can we dunk on this person, dunk on that person? I understand that negativity and toxicity and drama breeds views and fans and people subscribe to YouTube channels, which, by the way, if you made it this far and you enjoyed what I had to say, hit that subscribe button on youtube.com/Square Circle Podcast. The kind of community that I am creating is to gather people that are like-minded who want to avoid all of the drama, all the silliness, and keep everything in kayfabe. And we enjoy wrestling to its fullest while also appreciating the art that is professional wrestling, and that in-ring storytelling ability is being lost because wrestling fans are like, oh my God, I want you to be a high flyer, but that person, the high flying style doesn't fit them, but it doesn't fucking matter to the fan because the fan wants what the fan wants. And that is very bad. And that is very dangerous because that wrestler will not be here in the long run. I specialize in doing the tape study series where I watch and react to wrestling matches and break it down and pause and basically explain the moves, the characters, and everything that goes into it because I want wrestling fans. I want to attract the wrestling fans that want to appreciate professional wrestling just a little bit more, and hopefully we can change the tide of professional wrestling in the industry to the best of our ability because we want to see stories. We want to see in-ring stories. I always talk about what's the story. And I want to know what it is. And if we could have conversations about what's the story, what's going on, because wrestling matches are great. If you are not conditioned to watch wrestling matches, well, then obviously you don't support your local indies. Because on the indies, every single month, those promotions have wrestling matches. Not all of them have story month to month to month. Most of the time it's just wrestling matches. I should know. I work on the indies. So I've seen a lot of just matches in my day and I'm like, oh my God, where's the story? Can we continue the story from this month to that month rather than waiting like 3 months in between to continue a story? People are going to lose that aspect. So my community, I'm trying to find wrestling fans who appreciate the art of professional wrestling, who appreciates learning about the wrestling terms, who appreciates the wrestling interviews that I do from time to time, the vlogs, the media press, the now wrestle threads, where if something doesn't make it onto the podcast, we could talk about it on there. We could talk about any kind of topics that you want to talk about in wrestle threads if you send me a message. So do not assume that I wanted new viewers and just because I called them fanboys, I wasn't going to get it and you were trying to help me. You weren't trying to do anything except try to belittle me, and I don't accept that. I don't appreciate that. I will stand on my own 2 feet and I will be the person that says that's not allowed in my community. That's not allowed towards me. You're not talking to me that way. You're respecting my space and my person and everything that I've done because I respect you. I don't know who you are on the internet, but I give you that same respect as well. So, Konosuke, thank you so much. I will still be questioning. I will still be looking at things in a bigger picture. Again, nothing personal to the wrestlers. It's just I want things to make sense in kayfabe and in story, and I'm not just a wrestling fan. Ladies and gentlemen, make sure to stand tall. Do not let anybody dim your light, dim your knowledge, and let them know that you are proud of all your accomplishments. That is how you stop bullies, and that is how you stop random internet people who think that they could talk down to you and then backtrack and say, oh, I was trying to help you, but you use fanboys. That's offensive, because they're not going to be your viewers or fans anymore. Listen, I am appreciative of everyone here that listens to my podcast, that has subscribed over on the YouTube channel, that has followed the Spotify channel, that tunes in for the live streams when I get to live stream. I appreciate every single one of you guys, but I will never ask you guys straight out, yo, I need viewers because my viewers are down. I know my views are down. I know they are. Across the board, views are down. And views are down just because of the shift in social media, because now we entered into the political race. So I'm not going to be upset that my views are down. It's totally okay. And I'm not going to be upset that I haven't reached 500 subscribers yet on YouTube as one of the milestones, because my goal is to enter into the YouTube program. We will get there. My community and I will get there. But I will not ask you to bring a friend over to the video to show them. Like, I won't force you to do that. That's why I always say that tell a friend, share it out. That's the least that you can do if you want to do it. If you don't do it, that's okay. I will never know. But I won't say, oh guys, I need viewers. I need you to bring your friends. I need you to bring your bots. No. I want to get organic views based on my merit and my ability to create amazing thumbnails and my ability to create podcast episodes that are thought-provoking and help out wrestling. I want to do it on my own merit. The only thing that I ask my community is to share and tell a friend. And if you have yet to subscribe, please go subscribe. I try to use everything that social media has offered me, and I'm thinking of creating a little bit more deeper connection with my fans. So if you want to know about that deeper connection, meaning like if I do a Discord or not a Discord, or if you want to join me on marieshadows.substack.com, you're more than welcome to, so you can get into the conversations and discussions over at WrestleThread and all my other content. And I'm just really thinking of expanding and opening up fourth wall to have membership access and paywall access and stuff like that. So I'm thinking about a lot of ideas. But the one idea I will not force you guys to do is say, hey, can you bring a friend, and your friend could bring a friend, and your friend could bring a friend, just so I could get the views and get new fans? I won't ask you that. If you like my opinion, you like my opinion. If you don't, you don't. That's okay. All you have to do is either share it, and if you don't share it, that's totally fine too. This is why I love my community. This is why I love the people that I surround myself with, because they will let me know the feedback for anything that they hear. And they are wonderful at doing that. So I do not like it that the guy had suggested he's trying to help me when clearly our conversation was nothing of help but trying to bring me down. I don't need that. I really don't. What I need is a strong foundation of a community that enjoys wrestling and say, fuck all the drama, because it's annoying. It's super, super annoying. But to wrap this up, truly wrap this up, ladies and gentlemen, again, don't make anybody make you dim your light, because you are more than capable, knowledgeable, and wear your accomplishments on your sleeve, and nobody can take that away from you, and they will look stupid. They will. By the way, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening to this bonus episode of me talking about the drama, even though I really don't want to talk about drama, but it had to be made aware that what happened on Threads, because this is a longer conversation to something that could have just been scrolling on by, but fanboys have now become offensive. So thank you for listening to this bonus episode. I will see you guys in the next one.